Welcome to Against the Spread, where we here at Sportsnet give you our NFL picks against the spread on YouTube. And it is week 16. Finally, we're almost there.
We are. Got some big matchups.
We do.
Including the matchup.
Which is nice because there's been some years where week 16, teams are talking about shutting down players and just getting ready for the postseason.
Yeah, I don't think we really have any of that this week, which is good.
No. So our fantasy playoffs will be interesting if you are still playing. Survivor, if you're still alive, will be interesting.
And congrats on that. I mean, to get to Survivor week 16?
Yes.
Insane.
And there's a bunch of games that will not be interesting. So we will fast forward through those, but there's still some money to be made on them. So we'll touch on them. A game that is interesting is the Saturday Nighter. That's how late we are in the year. We're playing games on Saturdays. Houston at Tampa Bay. Houston is the road favorite.
Yeah.
-3. The Texans have been our Jekyll and Hyde team all year.
Yeah, they're all over the place. And I think it's a Saturday triple header. So this is the first of like 3 prime games on Saturday. I can't wait. That means we're in like the best part of the year.
Yeah, all good games.
Yeah. And for this one, like you said, Jekyll and Hyde. So I went back and I looked, like, what are the actual outcomes of the game? Like, is there any kind of like pattern to this? And there actually is a pattern to the Houston Texans right now. So this is how they've gone this year: loss, win, win.
Okay.
Loss, win, win. Loss, win, win. Bye, loss, win, win. Loss, win.
Oh.
So I was a little unsure, James Winston doing his December thing, getting that contract. Bruce Arians loves him. Rashad Perriman's, an all-star wide receiver now. But then I looked at this, and I was like, the Houston Texans are going to win.
But are they going to win by 3 points? Or 3 or more points?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
They're going to win. They're going to cover. They're going to lose next week. They're going to win 2 playoff games, and they're going to lose in like the AFC title game or something.
That actually is all in play. Like that all sounds correct.
Yeah.
The Jekyll and Hyde player in the league is James Winston. Has James Winston had a good or bad year?
He's had an insane passing year.
Yes,
like when it
to
comes
both teams.
Exactly. He could hit 30 touchdowns and 30 picks.
Yeah, he could lead the league in passing yards and in interceptions.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure how you evaluate him. I just want to stay away from him. So I, too, will take, sounds crazy to say this about the Houston Texans, but the safer pick in the Houston Texans.
Yeah, really.
Now, this other game is for AFC East supremacy. We've got 4:30 p.m. Eastern on the Saturday. Some people are saying there might be a changing of the guard happening in the AFC with the Patriots not looking good in the last couple of weeks, and the Bills on the back of an outstanding defense looking
their
really
defense
good.
is so good.
They are 6-point underdogs in New England. Are you picking them to cover?
I'm not going to take New England here. I think I'm going to take the Bills. And I looked into this first, like a bit of a trivia. I looked into when the last time the Patriots lost back-to-back December home games, and I didn't get a chance to double-check it this morning, but it looks like it was 1992, the last time the Patriots lost 2 back-to-back December home games.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
Yes.
So they lost that one to the Chiefs. So the chances of this happening in terms of an upset don't seem to be good, but I do see the Bills keeping this close. And Sunday, the Patriots won big, but the offense was still really bad. They had less than 300 yards, and that's the 4th time in the last 5 weeks they've had less than 300 yards of offense. But they did force turnovers, so that's obviously the key for the Patriots winning. Good field position. But the first time that I realized, like, oh, this Patriots offense isn't as good as they've been in the past was when they were in Buffalo. And Buffalo got a lot of pressure up the middle. Tom Brady had to run, which he can't do. And that was kind of when I thought, like, oh, this could be trouble for the Patriots. And I think based on what we saw from the defense on Sunday night, which, smothered the Steelers, which is a bad offense, but I wouldn't say that it's much worse than the Patriots at this point in time. And I think because of that, this will be a close game. The Bills will come to play. They can win on the road. They're 6-1 on the road this year. And so I like the Bills to go in and at least give the Patriots a test.
I do as well. And I just look at this line at 6 points. Well, how many points will the Patriots have to score for me to feel comfortable. And against the Buffalo defense that's playing lights out, second defense in the league in terms of scoring defense, third in terms of yards. Do I see the New England Patriots getting to 20, 21 points? That maybe.
No.
Like that
Yeah,
that'd be great. And then I'm just asking Josh Allen to get me 2 touchdowns and a field goal, which I think is in play.
For sure.
Look at the evaluation of these two teams. And New England's defense started the season lights out, and they were also scoring to help that offense.
Yeah.
Now they've been on the field a lot because of that offense not being very good, and they seem tired down the stretch. Let's just say the two defenses are a wash. They cancel each other out. And I look at the two offenses by position group. Running backs, Buffalo's better.
Yeah.
Offensive line, Buffalo is healthier, certainly.
Yeah.
Receivers, probably Buffalo's better.
Yeah, John Brown alone.
They're playing better anyways.
Edelman's hurt, so.
And then obviously we're still gonna give respect to the GOAT that is Tom Brady. But Allen is not making mistakes. And
That's the key here, I think.
Yeah, and sometimes in a way he's so inaccurate that sometimes his passes are not able to be intercepted, right? So he's making bad decisions, but it doesn't hurt him. But he's giving you a lot in the run game as well. I do actually think that Buffalo maybe won't win in New England. That's a bit early. But keep it close. Field goal games, I feel really confident. So I'm going to ride with Bills Mafia in this one as well. I'm sorry, Bills fans. I know you want the reverse jinx from me. The Rams are going to San Fran. This is the last primetime game on the Saturday, December 1st. San Francisco, who themselves are limping into the playoffs, they're 6.5-point favorites against the Rams, who were really exposed against the Cowboys.
Yeah, it was really shocking. I think that Rams no-show was probably the shocking result of Sunday's action. They basically punted their playoff chances. Mm-hmm. Like, they need a lot of help from the Vikings in terms of the Vikings losing, and they need to win out to even have a chance at getting in. But I'm not going to put too much stock in it. I don't expect them to no-show again. Sean McVay's not going to let that happen 2 weeks in a row. And the Niners are really banged up right now. They're coming off what was obviously their most disappointing result of the year, a loss to the Falcons. And like I said, the injuries are just a lot to overcome. They've got them on both sides of the ball, a lot of really good players. And the defense isn't playing at the level that it was playing earlier in the year. And so with these two teams being division rivals, I like the Rams to keep it tight in this game and to bounce back from what was a really awful game.
Both teams had awful games, and I actually think what's in front of them is going to be impactful in this game. The Rams season is virtually over at this point. They were making a late playoff push, team that had playoff, if not more aspirations, given that they were in the Super Bowl last year, and they're the most recent team that's had that Super Bowl runner-up hangover. The Niners, however, they're in 5th place as of this taping this week. Yep. They're going to have to go on the road to play the Dallas Cowboys if the playoffs started today, or the Philadelphia Eagles, whoever wins the NFC least. Mm-hmm. But their future is ahead of them in that if they take care of business this week, they've got an in-division matchup against Seattle. They could go 5th to 2nd, 5th to 1st, even depending on what happens with the Saints.
One, yeah.
So they control their destiny, and that's why I actually think that we're going to see a really energized Niners team, and we'll see them revert back to the form. And I think the Rams are going to be breaking huddles saying 1, 2, 3 Cancun. Like, they'll be making business decisions in terms of getting out of the season healthy, because the Niners are banged up right now. The Rams actually have been banged up throughout the year, and that's why the Cowboys' loss was so disappointing, because they started to be a bit healthier and they laid an egg. And I think that the Rams are going to kind of shut things down, and I like the Niners to win by a touchdown or more.
All right.
The Steelers and the Jets. This is a game that, the Steelers have some loose playoff aspirations. They really needed a better game from Duck Hodges to keep their playoff aspirations alive.
Yeah, I think they've got they hold the cards for the number 6 spot, I think, over the Titans.
Do they?
Yeah, I think they do. I think if they're able to win this game, and and then the Titans will need some serious help to get in.
Interesting, because I feel like the Titans are so much better.
Yeah,
like they played so much better.
Yeah, for sure.
But
just early season results. Mariota playing
Yes.
badly really hurt them early.
But all credit to Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
Although the Sharps are not giving them that much credit, they're only 3-point favorites against the Jets. Mind you, it is in the Meadowlands, but do you like Pittsburgh?
I do like Pittsburgh. Yeah, I think there's a lot of reason to be concerned about that offense because if you're going to have a quarterback like Duck Hodges who can make some throws and make some plays, but isn't ever going to be the starting caliber quarterback that a team like the Steelers are going to need, you definitely need to have a run game. And on Sunday night against the Bills, they didn't have that. Connor, they weren't using him a lot. He was effective when he was in, but then they have 4 or 5 guys who are coming in at running back. You need to have an effective run game to make it work, or at least like a security blanket. And I don't think James Washington was that. I don't think Deontay Johnson is that yet. That being said, that defense is good enough to overcome that in most situations. And I think T.J. Watt, Bud Dupree, and Minka Fitzpatrick and all that they have in the back end is going to give Sam Darnold a really tough time in this game. For a Jets team that probably have won a couple more games than they should have, and while I see this game being fairly close, 3 or 4 points, I think the Steelers will cover and win this game.
Yeah, there's not many teams in the league I wouldn't favor by 3 points or more against the Jets, whether it's in the state of New York or not.
Yeah.
And the Steelers actually have been pretty good, specifically on the road against the spread, 4-2. In the last 10, they're 7-3 against the spread. So I do think they'll cover quite comfortably. So I'm going with the Steelers there. Baltimore, again, a double-digit favorite.
Yeah.
10 points against the Browns.
I made a huge mistake picking the Jets last week. That was one of the worst decisions I've made this year.
Yeah, well, I mean, I made a huge mistake picking the Browns last week. So
fair.
Here we are. And,
Yeah,
and I have trusted them, and thought that they were going to bounce back and make a run because there was so much talent, and the Browns are just going to do Browns things. And I have no faith in them or Freddie Kitchens. And really in Baker Mayfield, whose accuracy has really regressed, as Lamar Jackson's accuracy really has risen.
Yeah.
So for all those reasons, I'm going to take Baltimore, even though it's 10 points in there on the road. Are you?
I love the Ravens here. This is the most that I've liked a double-digit favorite all year, especially on the road. I mean, everything says go Browns, except it's the Browns.
Right.
And the one thing that really pushed me over the edge was of all the games that the Ravens have played this year, they've been embarrassed one time, and that was at home against the Browns earlier in the year. It was by far their worst game of the year. They turned the ball over 3 times. They gave up more than 500 yards of offense to that Browns offense, which when you look at that now is a really, really poor result for the Ravens. And given everything that's at stake, the Ravens don't have the number 1 seed locked up yet. There's a lot on the line here, and I think they remember that loss. And they're going to come to Cleveland, and they're going to want to put Cleveland out of their misery, and they're going to want to lock it all up because it's very possible that come Week 17, they won't have to start any of their starters. If they get a result here, I expect them to go into Cleveland. I expect them to embarrass them. This is what the Ravens should do. If they don't, we should ask some questions.
The other big matchup with huge playoff implications.
Yeah.
Both conferences.
For
Saints.
our pride, too. Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to the Eagles-Cowboys here.
Oh, no, not yet.
My mistake.
That has
We'll
division.
hold back on the pride.
That has division
Okay. I teased that too
consequences.
early. Yeah.
Saints at Titans will impact the races in both conferences.
Yep.
New Orleans on the road are 3-point favorites. And 67% of the public, after seeing Drew Brees make more history, is with the Saints. Are you?
Yeah, I think I am. It's really hard to pick against the Saints with that vision of what Drew Brees and that offense did last night, too. What, is a Colts team that we have stood behind this year a lot, but went against last week because, they're kind of at the end of the rope. But that's a good Colts team. That's a well-coached Colts team, and they just got embarrassed by a really good quarterback, one of the best of all time, obviously, and an offense that, though it's not perfect, is really playing well right now, and the Saints have a great defense. The Titans, this is why the Steelers have that advantage is because the Titans have to win this game. They can't afford to lose this another game at home. But I don't think that they're going to be able to win this game against a Saints team that I just think is better in every way.
Yeah, Janoris Jenkins, who they picked up, will be eligible to play this week for the Saints. So there's two ways you
Interesting.
can.
Interesting. I don't know how that's going to work.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's two ways you can help your pass defense, right?
Yeah.
Get more pass rushers or get more guys who can cover.
Yeah.
So that's an addition there.
Yeah. They've got Eli Apple too, like two former Giants.
Former Giants, who left New York in similar fashions.
Yeah.
They have no issue passing the ball. Drew Brees, who early in the season before he got hurt, kind of looked like maybe he lost a little bit on his fastball. Well, that's not the case. Great anticipation. And just Michael Thomas, aside from quarterbacks, might be the best player in football.
Yeah, and he's going to break that reception record this week.
Yeah,
it's crazy
with a game in hand. He's been so dominant, and so that's why I like the Saints in that matchup.
Yeah.
We should go next to the matchup that you alluded to.
Yeah, I was too excited.
Well, I mean, you're excited. I'm ready to be disappointed because that's what the Dallas Cowboys
I think
do.
As Cowboys and Eagles fans, that we're both perpetually ready to be disappointed.
Yes. Well, at least you have a Super Bowl win in recent memory to celebrate. Cowboys don't really have a playoff win in recent memory to be that excited about. Will they get to the playoffs? We'll probably find out either way this week, as on the road, the Cowboys are favored after their best performance of the year by 2.5 points to the Eagles at home. Who do you like?
If the Cowboys team that showed up on Sunday against the Rams shows up against this Eagles team, I don't really like the chances for Philadelphia, but that's a big if.
Yes.
We talked about this a little bit before the show. They're going to have to put together a big run of consistent play to have any shot here come January, and that is not something that we've seen from Jason Garrett teams, not only this year, but in the past as well. But from an Eagles standpoint, the offense is playing really well. I think Carson Wentz, the second half of games that he's had over the last 3 weeks have been really impressive, especially considering who he's throwing the ball to. Greg Ward and Robert Davis and Arcega-Whiteside, who is not really contributing right now, but Miles Sanders has broken out. Boston Scott's been a bit of a revelation, and the tight ends are great. So the offense doesn't really concern me, but the defense definitely does. They couldn't stop Washington's offense. Adrian Peterson is 34. And he's still good, but he looked really good against the Eagles, too good. And the biggest concern for me, they couldn't get pressure on Dwayne Haskins. He had been sacked 22 times in the 5 games coming in against the Eagles. They didn't hit him once. And if that's what happens in this game on Sunday, they can't get pressure on Dak. They can't stop the run. I could see the Cowboys winning this and winning it pretty convincingly. When it comes to Zeke, the Cowboys haven't lost to the Eagles in the Zeke era. They're 5-0 when he's played against the Eagles. He has almost 600 rushing yards on them in those 5 games and is averaging almost 5 yards a carry. The Eagles' defense has to be better for them to win this game, and I just don't know that it can be based on the last couple of weeks.
So are you picking Cowboys?
I'm picking the Cowboys.
Wow. See, I listen, I don't have a great feel for this game. I do know that Amari Cooper has not been himself over the last month, and he is such a big part of their offense. So that gives me pause. As soon as the Cowboys suck you in and have a great performance, it's the banana in the tailpipe, and something goes wrong. And for all of those reasons, and just to make it interesting, since we're pretty chalk so far on having the same picks, I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles at home. They're underdogs, even though they're hosting. Maybe they'll have the dog masks out again, and they'll have another good December performance to remember. So we were split on the Eagles. So there'll be a little bit of pain and a little bit of profit for both of us, no matter what the outcome is in this one. Well, let's see what we like in the other 4:25 p.m. Eastern game. two different birds who are flying in different directions. The Seahawks are heading towards the postseason once again. They are 9.5-point favorites against the Cardinals, who come into town off of one of their better performances of the year, but still a disappointing season.
Yeah, this game is a really tough one to pick because obviously you want to lean with the 11-win Seahawks against the 4-win Cardinals. But of the 11 wins that the Seahawks have so far this season, only one of them has been decided by 8 points or more. The thing with that is that was the other matchup against the Cardinals back in Week 4. Obviously, the Seahawks have an MVP candidate in Russell Wilson. They're definitely the better team. But they also play a ton of close games. That's what they do. And they haven't been the same team at home as we're used to them being. They're a pretty bad 2-4 against the spread in Seattle so far this year. And it's probably because they get big numbers like 9.5, and they don't end up covering. And because of all of that, I'm going to take the Cardinals, at least to keep it close in this game. The Seahawks just find a way to keep games too close.
I'm actually surprised, but I too am going to take the Cardinals. I've been saying for a while that the Packers are probably the worst 3-loss football team that I've seen in a while. Not far behind are the Seahawks. I respect what they've done on offense, and Wilson, in any other year would be in the MVP conversation. It's just no longer a conversation anymore.
Yeah, Lamar probably ended that Thursday night against the Jets.
I think so.
Yeah.
But the loss of Josh Gordon, I think, will impact them certainly down the stretch. Their defense and the lack of impact playmakers, even though they brought over Clowney, he hasn't made the huge splash that you thought he would.
Yeah, and Quandre Diggs got hurt the other night. He's been a big addition.
Yes. So I just have more questions about the Seahawks moving forward than I have answers. And so I do think that even if they win, it's not going to be by 10 or more. They don't just run away from teams and beat them down. And so I do think the Cardinals can cover. The Chiefs do run away from teams and do beat them down when they're right. They are playing, though, still an impact defense in the Chicago Bears at home in the Sunday nighter. Do you have faith in Mahomes and company to win by more than 5?
I only saw parts of the Chiefs win over the Broncos in the snow, but from what I've heard and read, it was Patrick Mahomes' best game of the season, and I think that bodes really well for the Chiefs going into the playoffs. Obviously, if he's healthy, him and Tyreek Hill have a good connection. That offense is pretty unstoppable with those two, and it's a really scary thought heading into the AFC playoffs because I think this Chiefs team is probably the only team that can give Baltimore a run. And when it comes to the Bears, I don't expect them to roll over. I expect them to play in this game, and they've now been officially eliminated, but I think they're going to come to play at Soldier Field. But I don't think Chicago is going to be able to keep up. Mitch Trubisky can't keep up with Patrick Mahomes, and so I like the Chiefs by at least a touchdown, probably more though.
Remember when Matt Nagy was going to Chicago and Mitch Trubisky was supposed to be his Patrick Mahomes and Trey Burton was supposed to be his Travis Kelce?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes best laid plans don't really work out.
No, those ones didn't.
And offensively, I don't see a way that the Chiefs light are going to be able to keep up with the Chiefs. And I do think Kansas City is going to run away with this one. And lastly, I mentioned them earlier. I'm not a believer in the 11-3 Green Bay Packers. I can't believe that they could have a bye in the NFC, which has been one of the most competitive conferences so far that we've seen in a long time. They are going to Minnesota for what should be a really competitive game, and the Vikings at home are 4.5-point favorites.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the one thing about this game, and I agree with you to an extent about the Packers. I think they're not the kind of offense we're usually used to seeing with Aaron Rodgers. They're more of a grinded out. They depend a lot on Aaron Jones on the ground, and there's clearly a disconnect with a lot of the receivers. They just don't have the talent that Aaron Rodgers expects. But I am surprised that this is 4.5 and not something like 3. Mm-hmm. And it does give me a little pause here. The Vikings are very good at home. That is true. but I think the Dalvin Cook injury plays a big role. I don't think it's the kind of offense where you just put a backup in and it works the same way. I think the rookie Alexander Mattison is good, but he's hurt.
Yeah, he's also hurt. Yeah.
So then they have Boone coming in who played a role on Sunday against a bad Chargers team, but I don't think you just put those players in and it's like having Dalvin Cook in there. It's not that simple. Cook is a way better player. And so I think there will be some problems getting used to that. I don't expect Cook to play. I think it would be silly for them to play him because they're going to go in the playoffs. He needs to be healthy. So I'm going to take the Packers. I think they grind this one out again. They end up keeping it close. Somebody wins by a field goal.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Vikings, and I actually do agree that, listen, you're not going to replace Dalvin Cook.
No.
The thing is, they have been able to replace him. Boone goes in, rushes for 53 yards and 2 scores
Against the Chargers.
in half against the Chargers. But even when Cook was hurt, whether it was Matheson earlier in the year or Murray last year, they have been able, under Zimmer, to run the ball efficiently. And so I think that's all they're going to have to do.
Yeah, but they depend so much on that play action.
Yeah.
And if the teams don't buy that play action, then Kirk Cousins can't throw the ball. That's my concern. It's not running the ball. It's how the play action works without Cook.
Yeah, it is a valid concern, but I do trust the Vikings defense more than I trust the Packers defense. And
That's fair.
Certainly Aaron Rodgers is a much better player than Kirk Cousins and really does a great job of protecting the football. But outside of the quarterback position and now the running back position with Cook being hurt, I like the rest of the roster for Minnesota much more than I do for Green Bay, which is why you'd think in division the team with the better record would be favored, even though it's on the road. But I'm not scared at the 4.5 points. I do like the Vikings, and I think that's why I've got them winning this game. Let's quickly go through a bunch of games that aren't as exciting.
No playoff contenders here.
None whatsoever. The Jags at Falcons. Who do you dislike the least?
The Falcons. And I don't care what happened in Oakland. I will not pick the Jaguars again this season. I don't care how big the spread is. That's a bad Jaguars defense, and I don't think there's going to be any Minshew magic. Give me the Falcons in a rout.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, Scott Milanovich is not worried about getting his quarterbacks ready to play. He's worried about coaching the Edmonton Eskimos. I think
Right.
Jacksonville is on to next season, and so I've got the Falcons in this one. Bengals at Dolphins in what we thought was going to be at the beginning of the year, the Tua Bowl. It won't anymore.
No, it's going to be the Burrow Bowl.
It will be the Burrow Bowl, and it won't be a bowl because the Bengals will be able to get Burrow all by themselves because the Dolphins messed up and won too many games.
They did.
Do you think that they're going to win or at least the cover in this game?
The Bengals clinched the number 1 pick with a loss in this game, but I don't think they're going to do it. I think they're actually going to beat the Dolphins, and it's going to come down to Week 17. I like the drama of Week 17 for the number 1 overall pick, so I'm going to take the Bengals.
I think everyone in that Cincinnati organization, after seeing Burrow talk about the state of Ohio and what it means to him in his Heisman speech, they're thinking, we need this guy badly to be the face of our franchise.
Yeah.
So I do think they lose, and I think the Dolphins will cover in that one. Panthers at Colts. Colts, who we had such high hopes for to start the season, really have faded towards the back end of the playoffs.
Laid a dud on Monday night. But I do think they bounce back. The Panthers are starting rookie Will Grier, and the Panthers are just kind of a mess outside of Christian McCaffrey. I think Rivera did a lot for that team that we really didn't see, especially motivational-wise. I'm going to take the Colts to bounce back at home, win a game convincingly.
I agree with Mac healthy or back in the lineup anyways, in Brissett, the floor that you have for the Colts offensively is much higher than the floor for the Panthers, who really don't have many playmakers other than their tailback. Giants at the Skins. Not sure if Urban Meyer is going to be in the booth watching in this game, but these two teams are the epitome of why the NFC East is terrible. Who do you think wins?
I really liked what I watched from Haskins and Peterson and the 3 rookie receivers that Washington has against what was a pretty pitiful Eagles defensive effort. The Giants are also pitiful on defense, so I'm going to take Washington to win this game at home.
See, I think if Jones comes back, he gives the Giants a bit of a boost, and so I'm going to take New York. Raiders at Chargers, one team who has already left California, the other team that is about to. Really felt bad for the Raiders fan base that they weren't able to say goodbye to Oakland with a win. I think the Raiders bounce back after that bad performance against the Chargers. Who do you have in this game?
Yeah, I think this ends up being like a default Raiders home game because they're all going to travel up to LA. They're going to take over that stadium, and then they finally get their last home win. So I'm going to take the Raiders as well.
That would be so Chargers. The
Yeah, it would
Raiders'
be
last
amazing.
home win is in their stadium.
Yeah.
And lastly, Lions at Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, I like Drew Lock and the Broncos to have a bounce back game. I think Drew Lock is going to show something for the Broncos in the next season or two, and I really like Cortland Sutton to do some big damage against the Lions secondary and win me my fantasy title. So I'm going to take the Broncos big.
The Broncos actually have been pretty frisky over the last month of the season, and listen, I just want to see Vic Fangio celebrate on the sidelines with a win. Came out with a great idea to get rid of divisions and just have everyone play each other, and so it would be more fair. And you had one rivalry game, and although it's never going to happen, I just love the fact that he was thinking so radical. So I think the Broncos send him off in Week 16 before the last one in Week 17 with a win. What are your best bets for the week?
Do this quickly. I like the Saints -3 at the Titans. I think the way they played last week or on Monday night is just what we're going to see from them going into the end of the season. I like the Steelers at the Jets, and then I like the Chiefs to win big at the Bears. All road teams.
Okay, I've got a road team as my bronze. I do think that the Ravens are going to cover the 10 points in Cleveland. I actually also think that the Bengals are going to cover against the Dolphins. Or sorry, the Bengals won't cover against the Dolphins.
Right.
Just a 1 point spread. So I think Miami's going to win the game. So
Lock up Burrow.
I'll take the 1 point. And lastly, I really feel strongly about the Niners. I think that they have a bounce back performance. At 6.5, it is big, but I think they're much better than the team that they've been the last couple of weeks. And I think they get back into the hunt for the number 1 overall seed.
All right. Well, good luck. And
good luck
in
but
that
not
battle.
really.
Yeah, for the NFC East.
Yeah, we'll see.
May the best team win.
Both
of these teams suck, so really that's not happening.
But both teams that should be a lot better than the record, so we'll see if they can turn around. Listen, your team has turned it around and made a run, won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So we shall see if they can do it again.
Can't forget. Yeah.
Let us know. What do you think? These are two teams with big fan bases. There's actually a bunch of big games this week, so let us know who you got and who you like this week. Thanks for watching.